Hi everyone, this video is to review how you need to code questionnaires once you're putting them into your statistics package. I'm going to be using the example questionnaire that I put up on Waddle, which was from a previous project that was done in this subject. They were doing it on tasting different alcohol types, so it's the taste project example from before. So when you're developing a coding scheme for your questionnaires, the things that you need to do are, if you notice at this top left of the questionnaire on this page, we have RID. This was our shorthand for respondent ID. So each respondent received a different ID number. This is basically used so if you are going to be doing data checking procedures, you can find where the data has been inputted, then go back to the original survey document or questionnaire to make sure that the information has been inputted correctly. It also means that if the respondent comes back later and they say they don't want to be part of the study anymore, you can identify them and delete that response and preserve the person's anonymity. So in terms of developing a coding scheme for a survey, we have screening questions, which you do need to include to make sure that screening was applied correctly. So these would be coded as 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, yes, no, so on and so forth. That's fairly obvious. The other thing to look at is, in this case, the numbers associated with each question have already been inputted as part of the questionnaire design. However, if these were just checkboxes, we would then need to come back later and decide which number we were going to assign to which checkbox. And when it comes to this decision, the standard is that the lowest or the more negative response receives the more negative number. So in this case, never is assigned 1. We could have assigned never to be 0, but in this case we assigned it 1, and always was assigned the biggest number of 5. So this is the standard procedure when it comes to choosing which direction the numbers need to apply. So that is that one there. The other thing to note is in this questionnaire, the age was asked in an open format or open-ended question format. So decisions will need to be made about whether to directly input the number that the respondent gives here and then recode later, possibly into categories, or whether just to leave it as do the analysis based on the inputted numbers. So I have modified this questionnaire slightly from what I have shown you previously, in the fact that I needed to show you what to do with questions, what we call negative coded questions or reverse coded questions. So here we have a series of questions that say, I enjoy the taste of this drink, I would drink this again. So these are all phrased in the positive. So when someone strongly agrees at 1, they're saying, I would drink this again. However, this is the question I modified. It says, I did not enjoy this drink. If they are saying 1, it's saying they do not enjoy it. So this is the opposite in meaning to these previous questions. In order to be able to do the analysis effectively, we need to reverse code these items. So confusingly, this was a bad or incorrect questionnaire design, but for all the other questions we asked, previously we had asked these the other way around, then we got respondents to have to think in a different way. So we have strongly disagree being the biggest number for these positive questions. So we need to, for these 4 questions, we need to recode them so strongly disagree becomes 1 and strongly agree becomes 5. And this one can remain the way it is, because if you strongly agree with not enjoying it, that is a negative response to this question. We need to make sure that all of these things are coded in the correct direction, so when we do the analysis, all of our variables are measuring the constructs in the same direction. The other kind of open-ended question that was included in this questionnaire was this one here, which is a bit tricky in terms of how it gets coded into SPSS. So in this question, how would you categorize this drink? The respondent had 5 options: traditional beer, craft beer, cider, alcopop, other. So there'd be one variable created so that these could be coded in as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. However, we also have this open-ended component, which is please specify what other category you would call it. And in this case, we would add an additional variable, which would be an open-ended response variable, which we would then type in the response that was given to this question there. So instead of this just being one variable, this would be coded in as 2 separate variables. So this is the main issues when it comes to coding up, making sure that you have a respondent ID so you can identify who is who when it comes to the survey, making sure that you have included your open-ended questions correctly and have decided on how you're going to then proceed with the coding procedures on those open-ended questions, and identifying your reverse coded items that will then need to be recoded later so that the analysis can be completed effectively.